is a writer, speaker, and founder of Middle School Mommer. The middle school years can be lonely as a mom, but Kim loves to walk with moms through these formative years of parenting. Kim grew up in a small town of 647 people and moved straight to downtown Chicago after college graduation for a marketing job. Talk about culture shock. She currently lives in Geneva, Illinois with her husband and her 3 kids. So welcome, Kim.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so glad you can join us. So the bio told us quite a bit about you, but tell us a little bit more about your transition from, small town to the heart of Chicago. What was that like?
Yes. I always relay it to the movie Sweet Home Alabama, where Reese Witherspoon's character says, "Oh, when I'm in New York City, I feel like it's home. But then when I'm here, I feel like it's home too." And I know it sounds so odd that one could feel so comfortable in such different settings, but that's how I feel to this day. Like, we actually have a trip planned. I still call it home, a trip planned home for this coming weekend. And I always feel at home when I'm there. I loved growing up in a small town. It gave me a million experiences and opportunities that we don't all get today, because you kind of have to pick, that one or two things.
Yeah.
But then Chicago, oh my word, I did literally move to downtown Chicago and worked in downtown Chicago and loved it there too. And so now I'm in the western suburbs, and I just kind of daydream about, a job maybe back in the city one day. So yeah, I don't know. I love them both.
That's great. And tell us a little bit more about your family.
Yes. So I am married to Mark. He's in the landscape industry. He supplies hardscapes. So if you're ever like in a downtown area where you see beautiful brick pavers, or have the luxury to be at somebody's pool where they have a nice pool deck, or that sort of thing, that's what he does. He provides the hardscapes. So we always, I don't know if I don't think he thinks it's all that interesting, but I do. The fact that like both of us are in such incredibly separate industries in terms of like, he's in, it's like manly, like he wears boots and drives a truck. And then I'm like, doing things like this, but I'm like, I feel like we're doing this similar thing. Both of us, it has to do with aesthetics and, like we care about how things look, and I don't know. So to me, I see a bit of a tie-in. So
you're both really creating space for relationships to happen so that's really cool.
And just kind of have an eye for beauty and things that will impact people,
Yeah. Well, today we're going to talk about something that which is actually being a middle school mompreneur.
Yes.
So let's start a little bit. Tell me, like, how did you go from writer to a niche to business like this? Like, did you just like writing in general, or did you have a particular topic that was near and dear to your heart that resulted in this? Or just tell me how you got started.
Well, I was not planning on it to begin with, in terms of like, in the year 2019, I'm going to launch this. However, I had always been planning on it, looking back on it. I had this notebook going of all these different ideas. And when my position at work got absorbed into another role, it was just this big culture shock. And so immediately I went out and interviewed in different areas, got a couple of really good job offers, and, a final kind of, I always call it my dream job offer at this organization that I met the team. I was 4 interviews in, but the interesting thing was that I was hired to write, to be the feature writer and write other people's stories. And I came home that night and I said to my husband, I don't think I want to spend 40 hours a week writing other people's stories. Like, I have too many of my own to share. And I showed him my notebook, and he was supportive of whatever I wanted to do. And so I had already been in touch with a marketing gal that had just launched a business, her own business. And we had just had some conversations, and I said, all right, it's a go. Like, we're doing this. And so overnight we launched my website. I began writing, and then COVID hit. And so, and I don't laugh. I don't mean to laugh, but it just was like, wow, that was interesting timing. But in the end, it was kind of the perfect thing, because I needed an outlet still to do something creatively. So I launched Kim Caifano. But as you know, anything creatively takes so much time, effort, and energy. And after about 4 months, I was like, this is not a hobby for me. Like I want to learn how to make money at this. So that was when we pulled in a writing business coach who we both know, Brian Dixon, and he guided me towards like, well, this, and also Hope Writers. I joined Hope Writers and went step by step through all the videos in order to kind of learn like, okay, how do you take this to a business? And very consistently, it was relayed to me, you need to find a niche. Like, what is your niche? And I wanted it to be just faith, like, can I just talk about faith and things that are on my heart? And everybody was like, nope, you have to like narrow it down. So,
that's a topic, not a niche, right?
Yes, exactly. So, when both the marketing gal and then Brian, they both kept saying, what about middle school moms? And I kept saying, no, no, like that is I'm in the middle of it. I'm still, I don't know for sure what I'm doing. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, which was a really important part of my family that I didn't even say a minute ago. But yes, I have a 13, 10, and 7-year-old. And I just didn't feel qualified, but then the more I processed and prayed about it, I thought, there's more to it than that. It's not just giving parenting. I try to not ever say advice.
Right.
I try and say insights. But it's about what the mom is going through during this stage. And that I feel very qualified to speak on because I'm going through a lot of things right now. Life looks a lot different during the middle school year or middle years of parenting compared to the baby and toddler years. So that I felt very confident about.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, because I know a lot of writers, I've met a lot of writers, and I hear them all say, I want to make an income doing this.
Yeah.
But rarely do they recognize that it's beyond selling a book or that it can be part of a bigger business. And so really it was putting in the hours. It sounds like that you went, if I'm going to put in these hours, I want this to be a business and I'm going to find the right people to help me build it into that.
100%.
Yeah.
And I'll also add that because I had been, before that, I've kind of done it all. I've been in the workplace, I've been in grad school, I've been a fully, like stay-at-home mom. And so I feel like I had known all the different worlds and the different pros and cons of the different worlds. And so I kind of put everything together and I was like, well, I do want to be here. Ideally, I want to be here again when the kids get off the bus and that sort of thing. But I also want to make money. Yeah. So what do you do about that? And I didn't want to be hired by a telemarketing agency, not, nothing against that, but I just knew that wasn't God's wiring for me specifically. And so, I was like, well, then I'm going to launch a business. So that's how we're going to go about this. And now I have flexibility.
Well, and that describes the life, I think, of a mompreneur, which is very different than a work from home mom with an employer who's got set hours and responsibilities, or even the working mom who leaves the house, because the mompreneur might be 90 minutes on work, an hour on the kids, another hour on something for work. And it's a back and forth. So it's an integration that is very different than a lot of other working scenarios. So now how did you've talked about how you joined Hope Writers, you hired Brian Dixon. So you had this sense that if I'm going to take the time I'm putting in and turn it into something, I need people to come alongside me and really help me do that. But you also have, your first job out of college was in marketing. So you have a sense, an understanding, I should say, of how marketing really plays into things. How did that sort of inform your decisions and drive your choices here?
That's a very good question. And nobody has ever asked me that. So thank you. I feel like I do want to speak into that a little bit. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people think that perhaps because I hired a couple of people to help me, that's somehow, that people recognize my writing talent, but I'm like, actually, a lot of it is just simply my drive, my gut, the experience from the last 2 decades. So it definitely has played a role. Like I love marketing and communications. I do love it. But I also, I happened to step out of all of it right when social media came in. So,
Mm.
like when Facebook launched, that was like basically when I was having my first child, our first child, and then I was one of the last people actually to join social media. I was like, never, never. And then then guess what? Fast forward however many years, and I'm the digital media coordinator who's like heading up social media at an organization. And
Yeah.
so that was the biggest thing I recognized, was that I didn't have a strong grasp on that part of it. And but then also, truly, again, if you're going to make money at it, the most straightforward route, perhaps, I think in my mind was like, well, you write a book.
Hmm.
Well, there's no,
Right.
that first of all, that's hard to do, much harder than people. To this day, I'm astounded by how many people are like, I wrote a book. I'm like, you did?
I
Because
know.
there's a lot that goes into
There's like 4,000 steps from I
yeah.
want to it's published. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now that I really understand that world, and then I just realized, I'm like, for me, it's more than just, and but again, I don't mean just writing a book, but I really realized that I wanted to be a brand,
Yeah.
like whatever that looked like. At the time, I thought Kim Caifano was
Mhm.
the brand. Now it's kind of like, well, yeah, Kim Caifano, but Kim Caifano is a writer and a
Mhm.
speaker, and she's the founder of Middle School Mommer. And
Right.
so now that's kind of how I operate and look at things. So I was just aware that the business aspect of things and the social media aspect of things
Mhm.
were my two big areas where I needed help, and I needed to hire somebody to help me.
That's excellent. And that's important. And so, moms listening, recognize that, the people who get things going, they're not doing it alone. They are asking for help, they're hiring the right people. It's
Yep.
not as effortless as it often looks like it is.
Oh my
It-
goodness.
yeah.
Anybody that you see that you are admiring, I guarantee there is so much to their backstory that
Yeah.
you do not realize, that you do not see. And now there are a few of us, and I think you're one of them, that like you have done it all. Like you figure it out. Like you're a figure out kind of a person, and
Mhm.
you kind of have to know your personality a little bit, and what stage of life you're in. And I don't think you're in the stage of life where you have any extra time than me by any means.
I don't even know what stage of life I'm in because, I've got college grad in December and I've got kindergartners that just
Yes,
started. So I don't know what
right.
stage of life I'm in.
Yeah. Well, all I know is that you do not have extra time on your hands, but you figure it out. And I think there are those people out there that just they love to dive in, figure it
Yeah.
all out, take all the classes and courses. I will also say I have taken a lot of. I am currently enrolled in probably about 5 different classes and courses. I'm
Mm.
constantly learning, so I think that is part of it. But I I think one thing I want to say is that you do have to recognize if there is a gap, and if there's a
Mhm.
gap, then that means perhaps you might need to hire it out, or
Mhm.
just have a circle of people around you that can help. And then we happen to have uh, a blessing of income that was unexpected. It wasn't a huge blessing, but it was a small blessing, and we were like, you know what? Bless my husband's heart. He was like, let's put this towards your business. And that's how we did it.
Okay.
For most people, I would say you might go for a little while, like maybe just start to jot down all your ideas and just
Mhm.
start with something while you're saving up, saving up, saving up, saving up, saving up. And then at a certain point, press go. And then that's
Yeah.
when you bring that person in that can help you, and figure out who it is that you need to help you. Like, is it a social
Yeah.
media person? Is it a business person? There's a lot of people out there that will try to pitch to you, and please don't sign on with that first person that tries to get your
Yeah.
business. Just pay attention for a while. Who are the voices that you're hearing pretty consistently? I
Mhm.
never signed on with anybody until I heard either from firsthand from somebody that they were highly recommended,
Mhm.
or I just kept hearing that about that person again and again and again
Right.
and again. And then it was like, okay, I'll sign up for her, whatever, podcast
Yeah.
lab or list to launch lab.
Yeah.
So, it's like once you hear those names again and again, then it's
Yeah.
time.
Well, tell us a little bit about your business. You you have a dual approach to serving your audience. So what is it that the moms of middle schoolers need, and how do you help them?
Yes. And your observations are very, very good. So, yes, I do have a dual approach. It's a little controversial because some people view it as like you need to be, all or nothing. Like I said, I feel as though I'm Kim Caifano no matter what. I'm Kim Caifano. Like I can't stop being myself. So I still have
Mhm.
my own website and I write about anything that comes to my heart. But that's kind of the top tier. And then
Mhm.
below that, speaker, writer, and founder of Middle School Mommer. And so
Mhm.
as the founder of Middle School Mommer, what I do and write about and speak about is, of course, middle school mom topics,
Mhm.
parent topics. So that is both parenting insights. So I do, to the best of my ability at this point, because I have an eighth grader, so I know a few
Yep.
things, and we have a very good relationship. But boy, we also have a lot of things going on in this household, and so
Mhm.
I write and speak into all of those. I have a lot of friends, and I'm a big connector of people and with people.
Yeah.
So I just kind of I listen in. I really wish I had her books. Jen, I believe I'm pronouncing her last name, Proveno, has written
Mm.
the Mom Walks series
Okay.
about mom between years and kind of like Babysitters Club version for moms. And I kind of joke with her. I'm like, I'm a little bit jealous of you because you get to write about anything because it's fictional characters.
Right.
For me, I have to be a little careful because I have a lot of things I want to say, but I have to be pretty careful. I'm trying to protect my children's privacy.
Yes.
Because I have a tween and a teen, but I really do have two children that I would consider my demographic. Um, and so I do offer the parenting insights when and where I can. But then in addition, the bigger heart and the bigger passion behind my brand is, yes, middle school parents. And I want to kind of even stop saying parents, middle school moms are going through a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
Middle school dads, I'm sure, are going through a number of things. But I think it's the moms more that are just like, whether they know it or not. And part
Mhm.
of my thing is like, I want you to acknowledge where you're at in life because you're probably going through a lot more than you're realizing.
Yeah.
Like so a lot of moms are like they're kind of grieving and missing those younger years, and they don't even know it. And I think
Yeah.
that's like truly the first step is kind of saying like, okay, goodbye. I guess we're not going to have those, play date evenings with Legos on the floor anymore. Like those are gone. Like those years are gone.
Yeah.
And just life gets so much busier, and
Mhm.
just rather than complaining about it all the time, trying to embrace it and figure out your new systems and that sort of thing. And then, your relationship with your spouse, if there's a spouse in the picture, looks a lot different. And
Mhm.
so what are you going to do about that? For, like I said, for us, like it can't necessarily be a date night anymore. It's a walk, but we need time together. So
Right.
that looks different. And then for one of the biggest pieces for me has been really trying to embrace the busier schedule and figure
Mhm.
out really, again, good systems around that. Like how do we, when they walk in the door and they have to get their homework done, and then within 20 minutes we need to be dressed and out the door because we're headed to a ball game. You need to have thought about that, not right then, but like probably at about 8 in the morning or even the night before. Like, what's that fast dinner going to look like? Or so, I think that there's just so many adjustments, and very few moms, I think, recognize that. Some moms
Mhm.
don't even need to. That's not their personality. They just go with the flow. For me, I'm
Right.
more of like a processor and an observer. I'm kind of like, okay, I need to like take a step back, take a deep breath, and be like, okay, like I don't have any more diapers or pull-ups in the house. And kind of just like be okay with that. My kids don't need
Right.
me to read to them anymore. We do still do that, but like
Yeah.
it just is so different. And I personally am one that misses that, those baby and toddler years quite a lot. So
Mm.
there's just been a lot of processing for me in this season. And I know I'm not alone in that.
Yeah. And I often say that the younger years are physically demanding, but the older years are emotionally demanding. And
Yes.
they still need their mom. They just need their mom in a different way. And you
Yeah.
kind of alluded to this, I think, where you said I have to be more careful now with my teen and tween with their privacy. That, I think, is one of the biggest changes I found when my kids went through middle school. And that made me feel a little more alone because when they
Yeah.
were little, I could just say, this is what's going on and help. And now I can't do that the same. Do you think that's one of the hardest things that the middle school moms face is this
Yeah.
isolation? Or is there something else that's equally hard, I guess, that during those years?
Again, so insightful. Yes, so before I launched the brand, I did a lot of market research, and my studies were my own people. So
Mhm.
I had 21 women over the course of two different town halls, and then an anonymous Google questionnaire that I sent out, and that was definitely one of the biggest themes: is that middle school moms feel very alone, and it's partially because we do just scatter, during these years. It's very different than those early years when you're having the play dates and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that's part of it. Um, but I also think everybody seems to imagine that they're the only one that is going through a certain scenario, and that is
Mhm.
not the case. And I will say that's one of the common themes between Kim Caifano and Middle School Mommer. You will hear it said again and again: "You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone." And I mean that twofold. As a Christian, you're
Mm.
never alone. Like, God
Right.
knows everything that is going on in your life. But also, like, I have. So my graduate degree was in. I used to leads community groups, that sort of thing. And
Mm.
that's what I went to grad school for. So I have led and coached in whatever way too many small groups and community groups to know that like everybody is going through something, and every middle school mom is going through something, and
Mm.
it all probably looks a little different, but there's also a lot of common themes. But anyway, just in regard to the town halls, every mom that spoke up was like, it was like a therapy session. And somebody said that they were
Oh.
like, wow, I just feel like this was a really big therapy session, because they were like, I thought I was the only one that was struggling
Mm.
with how to talk to my daughter about, sexuality, or I thought I was the only one that was having a hard time determining what to do in regard to technology. Or did you ever see the movie with Mel Gibson starred in it, What Women Want? And he has the ability to hear what's going on in every woman's mind.
Uh-huh.
And so there's this one scene where he realizes that he has this, whatever power or whatever, and he's going through a run in the hearing, or he's just in a park, he's hearing all these women going on walks and exercising, and all the thoughts that are going on in their heads. And that's what I felt like after the town halls. I was like,
Ah.
whoa, that was a lot, like, you guys are
Yeah.
all, you're processing a lot. And it really verified for me that what I was about to launch was legit,
Mhm.
and needed. That middle school moms they do feel isolated. They don't really have community, not consistent community. And so that's part of what I'm still trying to sort through, like how to offer that. Because the other thing they also said was like, and I don't want it to be just virtual.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure that piece out, because middle school moms are the hardest audience in the world. I mean, in my
Oh,
book,
yeah.
there other people would say, no, actually, my audience is harder. But we are busy, and
Yeah.
nobody's available at the same time. Like,
Mhm.
I've played with different times to reach people with Instagram Live
Right.
or whatever, and like early morning, great for
Yeah.
this group and not this group, and then
Well,
late evenings. Yep, nope, yeah,
because middle schoolers can't drive themselves yet. So mom is still very, very much in demand when it comes to
yes,
their burgeoning social schedule. So
totally.
as the middle school mompreneur, like your business is unique because you are a middle school mompreneur, but you are
Mhm.
serving, middle school families.
Yeah.
How did you how did you build this in a way that integrated well around your own family? What was the biggest challenge that you faced when it came to to integrating this new business with the needs of your family?
There is a lot of irony to it because there are times, actually right now, I just heard my middle school 8th grader walk in the door, and guess what? He's down there by himself while his mom works, and does a podcast interview. There are a lot of moments like that. So, that is tricky for me, and I do battle the mom guilt, but I also believe really strongly that we as moms, one of my favorite episodes that I've listened to of yours is you interviewed somebody who had I don't know if it was a personal training business. And I loved the theme of that interview because it was kind of, you talked around the idea of that we as moms have this all or nothing mentality often. And that's not the healthiest, best way to go about it. It's often like, nope, the grass is always greener. Like almost every day I'm kind of like, I want to throw on the towel. I give up. I'm just going to be home with you. Like I give up. But you have to have I have such a, do I have the card here? Yes, I do. I have a few cards that sit here with me. Okay. This is, I would say, the biggest one for me. It'll read backwards. Okay. Don't stop until you're proud. Don't stop until you're proud. I bought this for myself. And I'm not proud yet. I haven't, all I know is I haven't quite gotten there. Yeah. I hope there's a point where I feel that way, and then I hope I carry on. But we have bumpy days, there are bumpy days, and there are days where I feel like I'm feeling as a parent, and the irony of that is quite incredible, right? Because I'm the middle school mommer. I should have it all together, Yeah.
But it's all market research.
Yes. But that's the thing. And I hope that's the beauty of my brand is that everybody that knows me as Kim Caifano, they know that if they see me, they're going to know what is on my heart and what I'm really thinking. And usually they don't even have to ask. They see it on my face. I don't know if you can see it. These two little lines here have been here since high school because I'm always I'm a processor. And so, it's either a look of thinking really hard or confusion, maybe a combination of both. And so I definitely am like a processor. And so I'm very aware when our household is not running the way that I want it to. And those are the days when I'm like, I should give up. But I also, I'm going to give another movie allusion. The Three Amigos. Do you remember when Steve Martin he's in jail and he's trying to reach, he's into something, and he's trying to reach it's this handle that will release him. And he says something to the effect of I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. And there's something that's pulling him back this whole way. And I think of that so often because that's kind of how I feel. But I just keep that that little scene from the Three Amigos in my mind. And I'm like, I am going to make it. I am going. I refuse to let this stop me because I've heard from way too many middle school parents that they need to hear from more voices during this stage of life. Those baby and toddler years, you read so many books and you get so much information coming at you. And it's like, well, where did that all go during the middle school years? And so that's a lot of my mission is I want to say, I want to be there for the moms. And then I also want to say, you're not alone, honey. You are so not alone. Your feelings are very normal. And I probably have had those feelings, just stick with me and I'll let you know, or I'll bring somebody. I do a lot of interviews. I'll interview somebody and let you know what you're going through. You are not alone. So that's a big part of it for me.
Yeah. Well, that's very encouraging. So for the mompreneur listening who has a hobby or a passion and she wants to move it from being just, something she does to an income stream, what is one simple step that you would suggest that she start doing today?
I would say just start. And that sounds really vague, but what I mean by that is start writing things down. And I think probably I would say just start on social media. Especially if you're not on social media, you're not comfortable with it. No matter what you do, I am sorry, but you have to be on social media. You do. And I am not one to, I actually, the irony again of my job and roles has always been that I rely on social media, but it's also not my friend. Like, I'm not one that cares to wind down with scrolling and that sort of thing. But I also believe that pretty much no matter what you do, you need to just at least begin there. So especially if you're not one that has been posting regularly, just start posting. And you might think, oh, I have nothing to post about. And plus, I don't know what my brand is or what I'm going to be about. That doesn't matter. It just get people used to you being a presence
Being present.
in the digital world. Just get used to people, but post whatever's on your mind or heart for that day. And I think that's my acknowledgement. And perhaps it also includes just write things down, as they come to you, because that's how I started. Was like, it was a decade's worth of really, really random ideas, really random. As I go through and look back on some of those, I'm like, that was like the stupidest idea ever. But then I flip the page. And I'm like, that's brilliant. Like, when did I come across that idea? Like, why did I come with that?
Yeah. Who am I? Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Well, our time is coming to an end, and I think my favorite question to ask everybody, because I am a gadget girl, is what is your favorite time-saving gadget system or tool?
Yes. Okay. Well, has anybody said the Roomba yet?
No.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is controversial because I asked for it for Christmas 2 years ago. I asked my friends who were technology or clean freak geeks, I will say, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, don't do the Roomba. I personally am like, get the Roomba. You have to maintain it. But for me, not only is it a tool to clean, as long as you keep maintaining it, you do have to maintain it, but it helps me declutter my mind a little bit. So like yesterday was just a really frazzled day. And before I always babysit a little boy after school for an hour. And I knew that before the children walked in the door, I needed to have the house so I put everything into, the things that I knew the children should be putting away themselves. I just chucked them into laundry baskets. Yep. I pushed, go on the Roomba, and then those nice clean carpet lines. Like, yes. By the time they walked in the door, I'm like, hello.
Yeah, that's right. And please don't walk on the carpet.
Yes. There's something about those lines. It's just like, and it's just the sound of it is a little bit.
Yeah.
Soothing. So yep, that's definitely my gadget.
That's true. That's great. I love that. So Kim, tell us, there's two things. Tell us how people can connect with you, and then tell us a little bit about an opt-in that you have for them.
Yes. So you can connect with me if you're interested in more writings on faith and female entrepreneurship in general, families in general, then that's Kim Caifano. My last name is spelled Caifano. KimCaifano.com is my website. And then if you're a middle parent, then it's middleschoolmommer.com with 2 M's. And both of those are my handles pretty much everywhere, all the usuals, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, etc. And then my special offering is a conversation starter guide for middle schoolers. However, I will say it's really for elementary, middle school, or high school. If you have any child. And so it's just conversation starters, because sometimes like you crave that quality time, and then you get that time, and then you're like, how was your day? Right. And they're like, fine. Yeah. And then you're like,
what did you do?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah. What did you learn? Stuff, So these are actually, conversation starters that will generate genuine conversation that maybe you don't come up with naturally. So, yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. And so these are things that you should look at in advance and just sort of have in the back of your mind, or is it more for like at dinner time? Hey, let's pull
I
out
would
a
say
question?
I would say either one. You know, we always do a big when we have family dinner nights. We do highs and lows. You know, what was a high?
Yeah.
We always say you can choose a low and a high, or you can choose two highs. Because bless our 7-year-old's heart, he used to never have a low until he started kindergarten, and then he started to have lows. But so we kind of alternate between that and then like, you know what, let's ask an interesting question and see where it takes us. And it usually, you know, takes you just ask one question and then it leads you to a number of different ways. So yeah.
Oh, well, Kim, thanks so much for being with us today. I really appreciate this. Was a great conversation, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. And thank you for interviewing all sorts of moms on different topics. Like I always feel like I'm sitting in like having coffee, like the lurker behind your shoulder.
Well, I'm glad. That's the goal.
Yes.
I'm glad.
You're meeting your goal. So good job.